going on YouTube? Welcome back to the channel and thank you for checking in. So in this video, I'm going to show you guys the process on how to upload a BPM Sport tune to your E9X M3. Real quick, I just want to give a quick shout out to Mike Benvo at BPM Sport Tuning. He graciously sent me another tune. So if you guys didn't already know, my car actually already has a BPM Sport engine tune stage 2. But I've been kind of working with Mike Benvo, and this video is a long time coming, so I really appreciate him being patient with me during this. But he sent me another tune, and we're actually going to change what I currently have to a Burble tune. So first things first, when you guys are ready to purchase your BPM Sport tune, you'll have to go to BPM Sport's website. So it's bpmsport.com, and what you want to do is scroll over here to the coding, and you're going to want to go ahead and look up your car. You can search by chassis code and all that. So we're going to select BMW down here. Scroll down here to the E90, E91, E92, E93. Click on that. And then it'll take you to a bunch of options and a bunch of products that BPM actually sells. So what we're going to do here is we're going to look for an actual tune. As you can see, BPM sells a lot of different products here, but if you scroll down a little bit further, you'll actually see here there is the Performance Engine Software BMW E9X M3 2007 to 2013. So if you select on that, it'll tell you a little bit about the tune. The current price is $8.99 for this. I actually have a discount code to supply to you guys if you guys would like to purchase a tune from BPM. I highly recommend BPM Sport. Mike Benvo, the owner, is very responsive if you ever have any questions or have any issues. And he was one of the original tuners on this particular platform, so he really knows his stuff. But if you scroll down here, it kind of talks about what the tune does for you. Like I said, I currently have a stage 2, so you need either high flow cats or test pipes or be completely catless, and my car is catless at the moment, so I have a stage 2 engine tune. You can also change a couple of different variables down here. But basically, when you're ready to purchase, if you scroll down, you will select your car model. So in my case, this would be an E92 Coupe. And then the year, mine is a 2013. Where are you? What region is the car in? And then you'll supply them with the VIN number. Tell them if it's a manual or a DCT car. Mine is a manual. And then you can change some different things. So if I wanted launch assist, I could actually enable this at a certain RPM. With a manual transmission, I don't like doing this just because if you ever wanted to rev the car, it would automatically rev to one of these selections or one of these RPM limits here. So I want to be able to rev the car freely all the way to redline if I wanted to. And so with the DCT car, it's a little bit different, but with a manual car, you can't do that. And so I have left that as none. Plus, I don't launch the car anyway. Down here, you can tell them what octane you'll be typically using. Around here, it's typically 93 for me. You can change the startup, some startup changes, cold start rev limit protection, or you can remove it altogether. I have both of these, I believe. So my cold start rev limit is like 4,000 RPMs or 4,500, something like that. And then removing cold start, I actually like the cold start sequence, even though I don't have any cats. I just think it's crazy loud and it sounds really, really good. I'm sure my neighbors hate me, but I decided to leave the cold start on. In addition to that, I also selected removing the top speed limiter, as well as raising the RPM limit. And once you click that button, it actually gives you a couple different options here on what your limit would be going forward, and I opted to go to 8,600. So we went up from 84 to 8,600, and it's actually pretty noticeable, that additional 200 RPMs. So I kind of like that. Tronic steering changes, I selected yes on this. So when you are in M mode with the MDM button pushed, your steering will actually change. It gets a little bit tighter. For the most part, I enjoy it. I think it feels a little bit more sporty, but I will say around turns, sharp turns, going at slower speeds, you kind of notice how heavy the steering actually is. So I actually have a roundabout right outside of my neighborhood, and so going around the roundabout, when I'm on MDM, you can actually really feel the heaviness in the steering wheel. But other than that, I have no problems with it. So here, upgrade to stage 2, yes, since I don't have any cats, and then you need to indicate whether or not what your exhaust changes are. If you've got an Acropovic, Evolution exhaust, high flow cats, test pipes, Acro GT4. So I selected this. Actually, when I purchased the tune, I had an Acropovic Evo, so I did select this. But if you're catless, select this. If you want any additional coding, you can actually do that as well, such as Euro MDM turning traction control, Euro MDM traction control, and a couple other things. So you can add additional products. If you hit yes, you can work with Mike Benbow on what options you want. I did not currently do that, just because I can do some of these coding things on my own. Are you a forum member? Yes, M3 Post. I gave them my name on M3 Post. And you tell them what kind of operating system you'll be using in order to load this. So you do need a laptop when loading the tune. So as soon as you figure all that stuff out, you hit add to cart, pay for it, and then Mike will actually send you, BPM will actually send you a box in the mail. Looks just like this. So you'll actually get this in the mail. And this is a dongle basically to plug into your OBD2 port. He actually also sends you a file in the mail via email with all of the selections that you've chosen, and you'll basically upload this onto this device and then load it onto the car. So that comes with this. And then inside of the box, there's also a couple other things. Here's a USB cable to connect it to your computer to actually load the tune from your computer to the dongle. And then inside of here, there's a couple other little things, business card. So I've got Mike's number on here, as well as some stickers. So once you receive your OBD2 port device in the mail, you will also receive an email from BPM Sport, which contains some files here. So here's an example of what the email should look like. This again is for my Burble tune. So it says, please download and save your tuning files here, and it's a .zip file. So what you'll want to do next is click on that link. Another window will open, and then you'll want to go ahead and save the file. Hit OK. And then go ahead and open up that zip file. And so we've got that one ready to go. Flip back to your email, and it will also have some links. So since we selected that this was going to be done on a PC, they gave me a couple download links. So first off is this BPM flash.exe file. This is actually going to be for the program, and then there's also going to be a program guide in PDF. So we're going to go ahead and open that PDF document first, and it should contain a user manual which has all the instructions on how to download the software. Once the PDF document opens, you'll see it's a 9-page document, and it contains the user manual for the E9X M3. If you scroll down to page 2, it talks about installing the actual application. And once again, they give you that .exe link here. It's the same one that's in your email. So we'll go ahead and click this one first, and then you'll go ahead and hit Save File. And then you want to go ahead and open that file. And then you'll get this security warning window and just hit Run. At this point, you want to go ahead and plug in your actual OBD2 device. So we'll plug it in via USB. Once you plug in the USB, you'll actually see a green light that flashes, and that indicates that we're actually connected to the dongle here. So next, if you scroll down on the instructions, it talks about where to save the file if you want to save it. And then down here, it'll tell you to make sure that the install BPM Flash USB driver is selected. So in this window, we've made sure that this is selected. And I'm also choosing to create a desktop shortcut. Go ahead and hit Next. And then it says that we're ready to install. Setup is now ready to begin installing. Hit Install. Number 15 here If you happen to receive this Windows cannot verify the publisher of this driver software notification, just go ahead and hit install the driver software anyway. Once you've done that, this window should pop up, and basically it says that the setup wizard is complete, and we can go ahead and hit run BPM Flash, hit finish, and then the next step will be programming your ECU. Alright, so now we're back on to programming your ECU. So what you want to do first is double click on the BPM Flash app application icon, and then the app should open. Then you're going to want to go ahead and read the software disclaimer, license, legal notice, and then click agree. So I went ahead and did that. And then now we're scrolling down to number 3 here. Click the check for software updates on the internet to see if there's any updates available for the application. So we're going to go ahead and click that here. Check for software updates. This version of BPM Flash for BMW is up to date, so you can hit OK. And then go ahead and hit next. So now it's going to run a couple tests, some system tests, and to make sure that your computer can handle the actual tune. And so everything looks good. Core speed is good. RAM is good. High def display is good. Power status is good. So we're good on all that. So you want to make sure that all 4 of those are all green. If any lines are red, then check your system requirements and upgrade parts, or use an alternative device with the correct requirements. Your device must have a core speed of at least 400 megahertz, RAM over 200 megabytes, and HDD space over 400 megabytes, and have enough charge to last 60 minutes to read or flash an ECU. So I'm just going to keep my laptop plugged in just because the battery on this is questionable. So just make sure your laptop either has a good battery or plug it in. Okay, so once you're all green here, go ahead and hit next. And then it says to make sure your hardware device is connected to the PC on one side and to the vehicle's diagnostic plug on the other side. So make sure the ignition switch is set to the on position and the engine is not running. So what we need to do now is go ahead and plug all of this stuff in, and then we'll hit next. So following along with the instructions, insert the BPM tuning cable into your vehicle's OBD2 port and make sure it's plugged into the USB on your device's end. Switch the vehicle onto on, but do not start the engine. So what we're going to do first is show you guys where the OBD2 port is. So if you don't know, it's down here right by the dead pedal. It says OBD2. So pop that cover off, just like that, and now you've got access. All right, so we've got our BPM tuning cable here. I'm gonna go ahead and plug this in. It only goes in one way. And once we've got that plugged in, we'll take the other side of it, which is the USB, plug it into the computer. Switch the vehicle onto the on position. Okay, so we've got the tool plugged in to the OBD2. We've got it connected here to the USB, and I clicked the start button twice, so we're in the on position. So now what you want to do is make sure that your battery is in good health. So I actually have the car on a battery trickle charger while doing this, just because the tune could take upwards of 20 minutes to load, and so I don't want to rely on just the battery alone. And so I've got the car on a battery tender. So number 12 here says, ensure your vehicle's battery is healthy and that the vehicle is not displaying an increased battery discharge warning. Additionally, it says to ensure that you have switched all loads to off, including the headlights, radio, air conditioning, and any other interior lighting. So I went ahead and made sure the volume was off, the air is off. I'm going to put my headlights here in the off position. So now we should be good to go there. So now what we're going to do is go back to the app and come down here and hit next.
So as you can see, it's looking for the hardware device, so we've got a green check mark there. Now it's reading, and looks like it's testing hardware connection, identifying the vehicle at this point. So now we just need to let this run. Alright, it just finished there. Looks like the hardware, device coding, and vehicle identification have been retrieved and tested successfully. The system is now ready to communicate with this vehicle. So down to number 14, it says the application will attempt to communicate with the vehicle's ECU. Number 15, a window will open with information obtained from the vehicle's ECU. Don't change any of these details, etc., etc. If you get an error message, the system was not able to detect the ECU, ensure that the vehicle is on, blah, 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 blah. Okay. At this point, you're about to encode your cable to be used with your vehicle's ECU. So we're going to go ahead and click Next. Okay, so number 20 here says to click Yes in the window, which pops up to confirm the details in the previous window. Then click Next. So I didn't have this window actually pop up since I've actually used this BPM tool before, and it says right here in the notes section that if this is not the first time you've communicated with the vehicle using the cable, your cable will already be coded and this window will not be displayed. So then press Next to continue. So that's what I went ahead and did. Number 23, at this next screen you need to verify whether a software update or change to your software level is required before installing the tune. If the hardware reference number listed starts with that number there, and the ECU hardware and software numbers both start with 784, skip to step 36, otherwise continue with the guide below. Alright, so let's take a look here. If the reference number listed starts with 0569 QT. Move this over. QT 0Z240EE. And the ECU hardware and software numbers both start with 784, which they do. So now we're skipping to number 36. So the reason why I'm skipping this is because I've already done a tune on this car, and so the first time around when I first did this, I had to follow the steps 24 and below, because basically it makes a copy of your current stock ECU and creates a file for it. And so I've already got my stock file on a different computer, and so I don't need to do this section. But if you are just now downloading a tune for the first time, you'll have to follow the steps 24 to 35, and basically again that's going to basically create a backup file of your stock tune just in case you need to revert back. Okay, so I skipped down to number 36, so press Program Ecu Memory, then select the tuned file and press Open. So back over here, I'm going to go down to Program Ecu Memory, and then I'm going to find my file, and there it is, BPM Stage 2, Adam Thompson, and then hit Open. Now it says, thank you for choosing BPM Sport. Tells me it's an E92 M3 USA model. This is going to be a Stage 2 6MT modified exhaust. So my cold start is still on. Cold start pump and cam positioning or cam phasing is still stock. Octane is 93. Servo Tronic changes, add Burble overrun, yes. So this is the change basically from my current Stage 2 tune to the Burble tune. So we basically turned on the Burble overrun. Warning, this file contains raised top speed limiter, which is what I also had before, as well as the raised RPM limit to 8600. And so we went ahead and raised it from 84 to 86 in my previous tune, so that's what we did on this one as well. That 200 RPM is actually kind of noticeable, so not that I ever wind it out that far, but when I do, it is pretty noticeable. After reading the vendor's comments, would you like to continue? Hit yes. And as you can see, it's coding And so some things might pop up on the dash. You might hear some noises. As you can see, it's in service mode, and it might do a couple crazy things. The wipers might move around. All you want to do is just let this calculate and let this run, and just be patient. Also, during this time, you don't want to touch anything. So again, we've got some dings and bells going off. My seatbelt holder just popped out. You don't want to touch anything. You don't want to close the door or open any windows or do anything like that during this flash. And so, as you can see, we've got time remaining is about 6 minutes, and that's a rough estimate. I'm pretty sure this is going to go a little bit faster than that, considering I've tuned the car previously, and so this is going to change just a few parameters, and we should be good to go. All right, we're finalizing here. A couple seconds left. So it estimated initially about 7 minutes, I believe. It only took about 4. So please switch the ignition to the off position. So it's now off. And then we go ahead and hit ignition is off. Let it run. ECU has been successfully programmed. That's great. Hit OK. Okay, so that brings us down to number 46. Start the vehicle's engine and click OK to any messages displayed on the navigation system. Number 47, check if there are any fault codes stored, and then you can go ahead and click diagnostics and then read trouble codes. You may read and clear fault codes from this window in the future. So, I'm going to open that back up and you'll see diagnostics there. Alright, so now what we're going to do is turn the car on. Alright, so if any fault codes did pop up, you can actually clear them by hitting clear trouble codes. And if there were no codes that were found, then the engine light or increased emissions light popped on, which it did not. But if it did, then all you would need to do is turn the car off and completely start the engine over and repeat the process 3 times, and the warning light should clear. But I don't have any lights, so we're good to go there. Last step, number 50, congratulations, you have successfully flashed your ECU. Yay, thanks Mike Benbow. So we should be good to go. I'm going to go ahead and hit close down here. And we should be good to go. Now we can actually drive the car around and see what kind of difference it made. Alright guys, so we're just out here right now. Basically letting the car warm up a little bit. I just drove it over here to this giant parking lot to do some testing to see how the Burble tune actually sounds. And so I've never actually had a Burble tune before. I'm not really sure what to expect. I'm not sure what level of Burble this is gonna give us. So I just kind of drove the car over here and kind of letting it warm up. So I'll come back to you in a minute. So I do want to clarify that this is not a flame tune, so don't expect to see giant flames coming out of the tailpipes. I know a lot of guys are actually doing that these days, but I personally am not really a fan of that, just because, I mean, yeah, I guess it looks cool and everything, but it's really not good for your O2 sensors. I don't want to run the risk of damaging my diffuser or burning it, or, you know, whatever, burning the bumper, and it's just overall not good for the car. And so even with a Burble tune, I'm still a little bit skeptical with the Burble, just because this car does not naturally burble from factory, and it's got such a nice refined sound from factory the way it is. Even with, you know, an exhaust on it, it just doesn't, the burble's not necessary. But we'll go ahead and see what it sounds like. All right guys, so we've got the car warmed up here. As you can see, it's warm, ready to go. And so now we can safely get on the car a little bit more. So I don't really know what to expect with this tune because, you know, like I said, I've never had a Burble tune before. And when Mike sent me the tune initially, he said we can make it more aggressive or less aggressive. So I have a feeling we played it on the safe side. I know Mike Benvo is not typically a fan of the Burble / flame tunes. So I'm assuming that we played it conservative here. Which is good. So don't expect some sort of like Gintani type tune where it's burbling the entire time and super obnoxious, because that is one thing I'm definitely not going for, and I don't want, you know, I think that kind of sounds like garbage, if I'm being honest. It might be nice to try out once just to say that I did it, but we're gonna go ahead and see what this sounds like. All right, so I haven't revved the car or anything, but we're just gonna do a basic drive here and see what we got. Let's take it slow. Let's try this again. It's got a little tiny little bit of burble, just a very tiny little bit. It's nothing crazy obnoxious, it just sounds like a little bit of backfiring, so I guess that's kind of what we wanted, right? Let's do that again. Notice it does a little bit more when it's, you know, slower speeds, so maybe less throttle. It's pretty tame. I mean, it's very, very, very subtle, so I'm not even sure that it's burbling almost, so let's try that again. All right, first gear. Doesn't seem to do a whole lot. Maybe we should check and see what it sounds like on the outside. Try some driving around a little bit and see what we get. Little burbles, but it's really not that aggressive at all, so maybe we can get Mike to turn it up a little bit. What do you guys think? Alright guys, so that just about wraps it up. Pretty conservative tune if you ask me. Very slight burbles on first and second gear depending on the throttle that you're in. Occasionally I'll get one on the third. I even tried it with MDM on just to see if that made any difference, and there was no difference really there. Otherwise, the tune is exactly the same as my other one. It just has the little blips that you hear in first and second gear, but that's about it. So I might reach out to Mike and see if he can actually turn it up a little bit, just so you guys can hear the difference between a normal tune and, you know, a burble tune if you haven't already. So if you guys have questions about it, please let me know in the comments. Otherwise, we'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks for watching.